biscuit hour.
Start over.
We're going to be making buttermilk biscuits today. These are going to be featured in an upcoming brunch on at the end of August, the last Sunday of August. I believe it's August 30th. We're doing a biscuit brunch over at Creative IQ Art Studio in San Francisco. So if you like buttermilk biscuits, you'll get to taste them there and come eat some brunch and biscuits and do a little painting. So it's a beautiful art studio. So right now we have all our ingredients laid out here, and I'll just explain to you what they are. So first main ingredient is flour. It's an all-purpose. What? You can cut this out. What?
Introduce him.
Oh yeah, sorry. Thank you.
It's okay, I'm just hanging.
Before we get started, I just want to introduce my lovely assistant today. We have Henrietta, and he's going to actually be learning how to be making the biscuits, as well as learning the important technique of the biscuit kung fu.
Yes.
And that is where we roll the biscuits in a certain way so that when we bake them, when we're ready to serve, we can pull them apart and have them in two pieces. So we'll get to that later. But here we go. The main ingredients that we have here are all-purpose flour. This is an unbleached flour. This is the King Arthur flour. I pretty much like it. It's a general flour and it works well. We also have salt. We have sugar. I'm using a baker's sugar, which is a more finer grain, which is it dissolves easier. We have a couple of sticks of butter, and we have baking powder. The equipment that we're going to be using is a baking stone, a large mixing bowl, a pastry blender, and measuring spoons and measuring cups. So that's pretty much, this is our artillery. Here, I'm going to throw this away. And so, Henrik, could you measure out 4 cups of flour?
4 cups of flour.
Large mixing bowl.
All right.
And as he's doing that, I'm going to be making coffee because it's kind of hard to do biscuit making in the morning without some coffee. Don't you agree, Keisha?
Yes.
Yes. So I'm pulling out some coffee. The kettle's on, and I'm going to make these guys some coffee because they just got here. So. Henry, why do you like buttermilk biscuits?
Why do I like buttermilk biscuits? Because I think a lot of it has to do with just the fact that I am originally from the South in Nashville, Tennessee. So I kind of grew up with buttermilk biscuits. And they're just really great. They're just delicious with like sorghum or jam or country ham or whatever. They're just amazing.
Bacon.
Or bacon.
I love bacon. I think bacon goes with everything, and especially biscuits.
Okay, one more.
We don't have any bacon today, but that's okay.
That's all right.
How many cups have you put in?
3.
Okay, one more to go. So we're putting in the dry ingredients first. We start with the flour because it's the biggest thing to measure. It's the easiest thing.
Okay.
So once you've done that, you're going to put in 4 tablespoons of sugar.
4 tablespoons of sugar. Somebody's writing this recipe.
That's the sugar, yeah. And I'll write it down for you later. What we're doing is doubling the recipe because
okay.
we have company coming. If it was just 2 people, I'd make it just I'd half the recipe. So.
Okay. And how many? So 2 cups of flour is how many yield biscuits?
About 6, half a dozen.
Okay. You said 4 tablespoons?
Mm-hmm.
Tablespoons, right?
4 tablespoons of sugar.
Okay.
Yes. And do you want coffee too? I'm assuming you want coffee.
Yes, please.
Stupid question. I know, sorry.
Okay, 4 tablespoons of sugar done.
Okay, awesome. Next, it's 8 teaspoons of baking powder.
8 teaspoons.
Yes.
All right.
If it was just a single recipe, it'd be 4. But since we're doubling it, it's going to be 8. love those little baking powder cans. They have that little lid that you can scrape it off and it makes it so handy. I love that.
Me too.
More like strong coffee. I'm remembering the airplane scene with that little girl and that boy. He's like, "Oh, would you like a cup of coffee?" Which is
right.
Yes, thank you. Oh, please sit down. Cream, sugar? Oh no, I like my coffee black, like my men. And she's like, 10 years old. Jeez.
That was on the other day. I watched it. So. What a great movie. All right.
All right, next we're gonna do half a teaspoon of salt. So here's your salt.
Okay.
In there.
Now, what kind of salt is this? Like.
That's a sea salt.
It is. Okay.
Yeah. Because right now I'm too lazy to get down my kosher salt, which is what I also use for baking, which dissolves pretty easily.
Okay. So 1/2 teaspoon.
A half teaspoon. Yeah.
Right. It's not a lot of salt.
It's not.
Okay.
You don't need it. Oh, you know what? I almost forgot. The main ingredient of buttermilk biscuits
Buttermilk?
is buttermilk. Sorry, Keith. Yeah, let's do that. Get that out. That'll come in a sec. Okay, so now you're going to take your pastry blender and blend that up.
Okay.
Mix that about. That's looking good. And now you're gonna take the butter, take them out of the wrapping, and put both sticks in, and you're gonna just cut it up into the flour.
Wow.
Yeah, and you're gonna use your brute strength.
Yeah, which is non-existent.
Is that salted or unsalted butter?
So I happen to have one salted and one unsalted.
Okay. Just so it doesn't matter one way or the other, really.
It depends on how salty you like your biscuits.
Okay.
For the unsalted butter, it makes it more like a, yeah, it just makes it less salty.
So this is a silly question that I should probably know the answer to. But is sweet butter really sweet?
No, it's just unsalted.
And that's what they call it? Okay.
Yeah, and salted butter is not unsalted.
What? Right. Okay. Yes, that would make sense.
Yeah. So yes, keep going, and you're gonna mush that up until it's nice and fine, like those butter
Cornmeal,
pieces. Right? Oh, we're not putting the cornmeal in today.
No, it looks like cornmeal, right?
Oh, it does look like cornmeal. Yeah.
Oh, so there's a version where you would put some cornmeal in?
Yeah, you would replace a 1/4 cup of flour with some cornmeal to kind of give it a different texture, a cornmeal-y texture.
Dinner biscuits.
You do that for pancakes too. It's a very similar recipe for pancakes, except for you put in melted butter, and then you put in more buttermilk for the pancakes.
Oh.
It's pretty much like the same amount of flour and baking powder and salt and sugar. But since we're making biscuits, we're gonna do lots of butter. We like butter. Butter is the stuff. Okay, that looks pretty good.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, that looks great.
Okay.
So now that the butter is cut into the flour in very small pieces, clearing out the pastry blender as he is doing, I'm going to hand over the buttermilk, and I love the Clover brand. As you can see, I've been using the Clover butter, and here's the Clover buttermilk. And you're gonna do 4/3. So it's a 1/3 cup measuring cup. So for the regular, or a cup and a third, basically, of buttermilk. But I just do 4 of those, and it keeps it simple.
Okay.
Now that beep was the oven, that's ready to go. And so here we go. Pouring in the buttermilk. And they can be heaping. That's okay. Yep. 3 and 4. Lovely, lovely, lovely.
All right.
I think I might put a Brazilian soundtrack on the back of this video. That'd be nice.
Cool. That's always nice
Making a
cooking
mess.
music.
Okay.
That's okay. Make a mess. It's okay.
It's like Great Chefs, Great Cities, right?
That's right. And so, nope.
Nope.
Now it's all about
Oh, it's
mingling.
Your nature's tools.
Nature's still. So just pick your dominant hand at this point, and you're just going to stir it up and mix it up and kind of mush it up and try and eventually form it all into a big ball of dough.
okay.
Yeah, to where it's nice and smooth. So that's gonna yep, and you can like squish it, and you can like pound it down with the heel of your hand.
Ooh.
Yep, like that.
Mm-hmm.
Are you a big baker?
No, I haven't really baked that much at all.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, you're a natural, man. You're doing a great job.
Watch a lot of cooking shows, maybe. I don't know.
Here, get this angle, because this is seeing it in the bowl. Like what that looks like in the bowl. Yeah. So keep going. I know it looks like it's an impossible task and it's completely sticking to you. It will do that. And actually, you're going to be mixing this until it doesn't stick to you.
Okay.
And
Wow.
more than likely, you're going to be adding a little bit more flour to make sure that it doesn't stick to you. So once you get it into that ball,
Mm-hmm.
then you're gonna grab a little bit more flour and add to that, but not until you have it in the ball. At this point, my little niece was like, "Could you help me?" And by that time, she was like covered head to toe in flour. But oh yeah, that looks good. It's getting there. Awesome.
So it's still a little sticky.
It is a little sticky, but it's supposed to be. That's what the buttermilk does. It definitely adds all that moisture, that and the butter, right, is what's making it sticky to you. Okay, at this point in time, you're going to grab a little bit of flour
Okay.
with your
Somewhat
unsticky hand.
kind of unsticky. So
And-
how much?
Yeah, about that, and about that much, and sprinkle that over. Dump it.
Okay.
And go ahead and mix that up, and you can, keep going, and you can even use both of your hands now if you want
Okay.
to kind of make sure that gets mixed. And you're probably going to add a little bit more flour as you go.
And so
Because you're trying to make it into a big ball of dough that doesn't stick to your fingers
Aha.
anymore.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's when you know it's ready to kind of roll out.
Okay.
So adding flour. Kind of how they make noodles too. Like you have to make the dough first,
Right.
and then roll it out, and then cut it, and all that.
So I'm just adding a little bit of flour at a time to make sure I don't overdo it. What happens if I do overdo it and I like add too much flour?
It'll be hard as a rock.
Okay. Is there a way to fix that? Or are you just kind of already done at that point?
You don't want to add too much flour because it'll just be like a more, not hard as a rock, I would say. It would just be more firm of a biscuit. And we're trying to shoot for like a lighter, flakier crust, like cakier
Right.
type of biscuity property. Good. So now what you want to do is, instead of digging your fingers in to the dough, you're gonna want to knead it like you do bread. Yeah.
Okay. Never done bread, but I've seen. So it's